Welcome back to the JCPod, partner with Stare Down Sports. I'm your host, Jaden Chandler Parnell, and man, the madness is taking over, dude. We got women's college basketball action heading into the Sweet 16. We got men's college basketball action headed to the Sweet 16. Been a fun weekend of the madness, man. You guys haven't seen me since Thursday. For some of the few of you who did check out my boy, the Redbeard Show on Friday, saw a few of you in there. It's been a really, really fun weekend. We'll pretty much go into all the... I'm pretty much going to break it down. It's going to be really simple. I know I usually do heavy NFL news on Tuesday and all that. We'll save that for the end. I don't know how much I'm going to talk about necessarily. I at least want to bring up the competition committee rule they're going to change, which you can't tackle in the NFL anymore. So we'll bring that up. We'll hopefully at least talk about that at the end. I'm going to burn through NFL news again today, most likely, though, to keep it... It's going to be a lot of madness talk today. There's a lot of good games that happened over the weekend, a lot of crazy games. I'm not going to spend all day breaking them down. Like, some games I'll burn through. Like, UConn, I'll probably burn through a lot of UConn games. They beat the shit out of teams. But yeah, without any further ado, we're going to hop right into the madness. All right, without any further ado, like I said, we are going to hop into the bracket. So we will start with, I guess we'll start first game. How do I want to do this? Do I want to do this of... I'm actually going to, I had the tournament challenge open. I was going to go read it off the tournament challenge or just read it off base by region. But I think I actually might go, based on how we saw the games each day, and go game by game. So if we do that, let's see. So today's Tuesday. Should be this day. Yes, we're going to go based off of the order of the games. So we're going to start off Michigan State, man. Thursday night. I mean, by the way, most of you probably know what happened at this point, or at least have looked at the brackets and know like what teams moved on. So I'm not going to spend, like I said, forever on these breakdowns, but I at least want to give the people who didn't watch these games at least a little bit of an idea. Because if I'm not mistaken, there were maybe 3 to 4 games all week and I didn't get a single eye on for at least 5 minutes. Other than that, I at least got every game in so I can get somewhat of a look at each team. But yeah, without any further ado, we'll go ahead. Like I said, Michigan State opened up the weekend 18-point win, 69-51. Beat the hell out of Mississippi State. Not much to talk about there because, spoiler alert, Michigan State didn't move on in the next round, so I won't spend too long on them. BYU, Duquesne. I won't lie, I messed up saying Duquesne way too much, being funny, and then it got stuck in my head, and I had to go on a spiritual retreat to be like, all right, Duquesne. Dudes, though, first win since 1977, I want to say. They were the first upset that happened of the day. I'm not going to say dominated BYU, but they were up a good amount. And then BYU just wasn't able to claw back. And by the time BYU did claw back, it was a little too late. So it was a really good win by Duquesne. First win in a while in the March Madness tournament. Starting off the day off right. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, we got a little upset action. Don't get me wrong. I lost money on this game, so I wasn't too happy about it. But that's the worst. And then we got moving on. We got Akron, Creighton. Creighton beat Akron by 17. This game was close for a little bit, and then they ended up just pulling away. Shout out BetMGM, by the way. They had a promo going where they gave you an 11-seed or under. Or I think it was a 10-seed or under. And if they made it to Sweet 16, you got a good amount of bonus money. Your boy got Creighton. Not NC State. Creighton. I was pissed. I won't lie. Once I saw I couldn't respin either, I'm like, that's lame. All right. It's like, that sucks. Because, yeah, I didn't think Akron would win. They kept it close at least for most of the game, but, yeah, Creighton ended up pulling away late. Ryan Krockbrenner had 23 in that game. Shout out. Next game, Arizona beats Long Beach by 20. We don't really need to talk about that. That game was not close. That game was really far apart. Speaking of a game not close, North Carolina Wagner. Wagner put up a good fight to get to this point in the tournament, but excuse me, my goodness. 26. We're going to fix that. Oopsies. But no, like I said, Wagner, 62-90 loss. Armando Bacot 20-15. A double-double for my boy, Armando Bacot. Moving on, Illinois absolutely blows out Morehead State. Terrence Shannon drops 26. Really good game by him. By the way, betting-wise for your boy, really good betting weekend. We'll talk about that in a little bit once I go to the big picture. Right now, we'll do the game breakdown. Then when I go to the big picture, I'll bring that up. We'll talk big picture here in a minute. South Carolina, how do I put it politely? Hold on, making sure we got no kids around. They got that ass beat, boy. 87-73. Score's a lot closer than the game was, and yes, they're down 14. Jeremy Kusnar dropped 40. Sorry, I thought something important. Kuznar dropped 40, who was actually a former South Carolina Gamecock. So it's kind of funny that revenge on his own team, man, drops 40. Oregon looked really, really good in that game against South Carolina. South Carolina, SEC, man, it took them a minute to get their first win, but they looked rough that first day. Nevada, Dayton, this game, I think, this was the game, yes. This was probably, I'm going to talk about this game slightly more. It's not going to take too long, but game of the day, one of the games of the day. Nevada goes on a massive run. They're up as much as 17 at one point in Dayton. So I thought, you think this game's over. I literally just shout out my boy B. Hicksy. I literally just texted him like, man, I am so sorry I gave you Dayton minus 1.5. I truly cannot believe it. I bet them. I thought they were going to play basketball, and they immediately went down 9, and then it got to like almost a bad 17, like I said. So I ended up having, I think, another little bet on Dayton plus 11.5. So I'm just sitting there watching the game. Dayton slowly inches back, finishes the game on a 20-4 run to absolutely steal the game. Dayton wins 63-60. Insane win. Shout out to Mountain West. Mountain West had it rough for a little bit, man, and then San Diego State kind of cleaned them up. But, man, that was a wild game. Shout out Dayton, Nevada. That was a really, really fun game to watch. Colorado State, Texas, it was 27-11 at half. Colorado State was able to outscore them 33-29, so it ended up being a 56-44 final score, but they were down 16 at half. That pretty much is what killed them. So shout out Texas, man. Texas looked good in that game. This was the upset of the tourney so far. Kentucky, 76. Oakland, 80. Jack Golke, Trey Townsend. I think his name is Trey, right? Yeah. Trey Townsend and Jack Golke were the stars of this game. Same with, I think, Dylan. Is his name Dylan Cole? DQ Cole, excuse me. 12-8 for DQ Cole. 12-8-4. Townsend at 17-12-4. And then your boy, Jack Golke, man. 32 points on 10 of 20 shooting from 3. He had 2 out of 3 as free throws. Yeah, this was the upset of the day. Kentucky's defense was the biggest issue going into the tournament. I think a lot of I'm not going to say experts, but a lot of the smarter people who had eyes on Kentucky knew, like, oh, this is probably going to be rough. I'll admit, I had them losing in the second round, so I knew they were going to, I'm not going to say I, predicted for them to get upset, but I thought they were going to get upset. In the first round, though, was wild. I did not expect them to totally lose to Oakland. Jack Golke books on one of the performances of the tournament. Shout out to him, man. Got the people go. I was going to say, I was trying to think the place. I don't know. I think it's more than the place. I think it got everyone going. He was one of the big, what's the best way to put it? Stories, I guess. Stories, names, however you want to put it. One of the big stories of the day. He was part of the reason that these white men are dangerous memes started popping up again. So, shout out Jack Golke, man. Really good game by Oakland. First, moving on, man. I think this was their first, I want to say one of their first tournament wins ever. I think so. By the way, shout out Oakland's coach. I can't think of the dude's name, but he's been there for 40 years. This was really, really awesome. This was one of the awesome stories of the tournament. So, shout out to Oakland, man. Sorry, they keep doing something with some Saints tackle where there's a chance that one of the Saints tackles might not be medically able to play this season. I'm sorry, they've sent me this notification like 8 times, and I'm like, why is it this? Like, I didn't think it was that important, but apparently, they have a lot to talk about this morning. When it comes to Iowa State, they beat San Diego State. They almost win by 20, 65-82. McNeese State gets absolutely blown out by Gonzaga, 86-65. I want to shout out my boy Rowan. All over this game, absolutely all over this game. He said McNeese State would stand a chance against everybody else except for Gonzaga. Gonzaga is a bigger and faster version of what McNeese State is. And it proved. Gonzaga was not only bigger, they were faster. Outscored them 48-25 in the first half, which then they pretty much was even in the second half. Gonzaga got lost by 2 in the second half, but it doesn't matter when you beat the team by 23 in the first half. You can't afford to slack off a little bit. So shout out Gonzaga, big win by them. They move on. Tennessee absolutely beat St. Peter's. We don't need to talk about that. Another upset, baby. DJ Burns, man. My boy, D Grizzly, Dollar General Shaq, whatever you want to call him. Shout out also Muhammad Diarra. He's also Muhammad Diarra and T Grizzly, a.k.a. DJ Burns, are starting to become 2 of my favorite big men to watch in college right now. I just love the way they play in tandem with each other. Diarra kind of like the get it done guy, the dirty guy on the not like a dirty player, like he does the dirty work on defense. He gets the rebounds on offense. He does a little bit more of the dirty work. DJ Burns makes it sexy, while Diarra makes it a little bit more nasty. But shout out Diarra, man, absolutely love him. 17-12. DJ Burns has 16 points, 1 rebound. He didn't have any assists, which is really, really strange for him. I think between the teammates missing shots and just... I said between teammates missing shots and him getting his own, he didn't have a chance to. And also, by the way, he only played 16 minutes because Ben Middlebrooks, 21-4 on 6 of 8 shooting, absolutely going off. The NC State boys, they handled Texas Tech, win 80-67. Probably my favorite game of the night. I had a lot of money on them. Loved my boy DJ Burns. I think he's my favorite player of the tournament right now. It was Keisei Tominaga. Keyword was, we'll talk about that in a minute, but man, I love this DJ Burns guy. Washington State wins a close one against Drake. This was actually one of the few games I did not get my eyes on, sadly, so I'm not able to tell you too much about it. And in the final game, Samford versus Kansas. This is pretty much the biggest thing with this game is I think I wanted to talk about the end call. That was, for some people, a great call, and for other people, one of the worst calls in NCAA history. There was a foul call that wasn't a foul. Should have been a 4-on-5 break with a chance for Samford to tie it. Kansas just looked, I won't lie. We'll talk about this when we bring up Kansas in the next round, but Kansas looked a little bit rough in this game. I mean, they were pulling away early, looked really, really good early, and then that press over time just seemed to affect them a lot. But it doesn't matter because Kansas ended up pulling out the win. Samford was really, really close to stealing it, and it's going to come down to a big call that a lot of people are going to talk about for a while. You're going to the next game. Next day, we started off right. Purdue, baby. They weren't the first game, but Northwestern and Florida Atlantic was. Purdue. I forgot Purdue didn't play first. They were just the, what do you call it? I forgot. I just have them as one of my favorite teams. So this scoring site had them at top of the list. First game, real low. Northwestern, Florida Atlantic. Boo Buie, 22 for my boy Boo Buie. Brooks Braunheiser has 13-10. 27-4 for Ryan Langford. This is a really, really good game against FAU. Biggest story from this game is John L. Davis having... Is it a Jordan Poole moment? Is that who we were calling it? I forget who it was, but he dribbles the ball up. He starts going slow. People saying he's acting like he's impersonating Dame Lillard or something. Like he had that shot in his mind the whole time he's going to take from 3. Maybe, I don't know. But this boy casually dribbling it up with 4 seconds left, gets a horrible shot off to send it to OT. I think he even got blocked. It was a 3-pointer with 2 people all over him. So, I mean, that's tough, boy. He ends up missing the shot. They go to overtime. Northwestern's able to succeed and move on. Big win for this Northwestern program. Massive win for this Northwestern program. Next game, Baylor absolutely blows out Colgate. 92-67. Don't need to talk about that game. Absolute blowout. Wasn't even close. Purdue, baby. Zach Edey has over 20-10. Finishes with 30-21. Purdue wins 78-50. Absolute blowout. Purdue got out of the first round. All right, there's one checklist. Out of the first round. So now, move down the list. Make it out of the round to 32. That's the next goal for them, which we'll talk about in a minute. UAB San Diego State. This was a really, really, really good game. Jaden Ledee drops 32. He looked amazing. He also looked amazing against Yale, which we'll talk about in a minute. Because, spoiler, San Diego State won by 4. They didn't cover, but they beat UAB, win by 4. By the way, if you bet all underdogs, shout out their boy Boston Connor from the Pat McAfee Show. Did pretty good the first day. I think he was up close to $700 on the first two, close up to $700 on the first 2 days. Next 2 days, favorites went 15-1. Smoked his ass. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, he went from up about 1,700 to down about 500. So yeah, that is tough. The favorites ruled the weekend towards the end. Dogs started making some noise in the beginning. Favorites ruled the weekend by the end. But Marquette beats Western Kentucky 87-69. This game was close for a minute, I'll admit. It got to the point where I think even Western Kentucky almost got up 6-7. And it felt like they were going to steal it, and then all of a sudden they just flipped the switch. Marquette did, and they ended up just pulling away, and it didn't matter. Shout out my boys, Tyler. Oso Ighodaro. Tyler Kolek had 18-11. I just love Oso Ighodaro. Such a great name. Oso Ighodaro has 4 and 8. He didn't do anything too special, but he has a sick-ass name, though. Stevie Mitchell, 16-4. Cam Jones, 28-2. Shout out, man. This was considered an upset. So this is an upset if you go by the sports book. If you don't go by the sports book, this was just a 6 seed beating an 11 seed. 2.5 favorite New Mexico State loses 56-77 against Clemson. I won't lie. They just weren't even close all game. I don't know what happened with New Mexico, but this was not the team I saw all season. They just looked horrible against Clemson. So shout out to Clemson, man. Clemson moving on. A team, I'll admit, this is a team I do not believe in at all. And I was shocked when they won. I was like, oh, shit, okay. Okay, they actually had some, because I'll admit, this Clemson team has been They've been in a spot where in the tournament, I think it was last year before, like, I bet on them, they lost. A lot of the season, I bet on them, Clemson loses in the dumbest ways. So it's just a point, I'm like, I just don't trust them at all. And they end up, like I said, they end up getting the job done, so shout out to them. Stetson, Connecticut, 91-52. Stetson got that turkey dog whooped, man. Not even close. Auburn, Yale. Yale steals these were one of the games of the day as well. This was one of the games of the day as well. John Poulikitis dropping 28 points. I won't lie. Poulikitis, game of the day. There's a lot of syllables there that just were messing me up. Yeesh, boy. Yeah, I won't lie, though. That's what's awesome about the tournament. Sometimes you can see these teams get tight and just start to freak out, and you can see, like, it's awesome. You get to see, all right, so these kids are built different. These kids got that. They got that killer in there. Like, Auburn did not have that killer in there. As the game kept getting closer and they couldn't pull away, like, you saw it in their faces. Auburn would start to pull away, Yale bring it back. Auburn started to pull away, Yale bring it back. Eventually, Yale was right there the whole time. Auburn got really, really nervous. You could see them get super tight. They ended up losing. This was another team. Like I said, I had Auburn losing in the second round. Similar situation, Kentucky. I didn't trust them at all, but I thought they should be able to at least handle the first round. I was on Yale plus 12.5 as well. Auburn loses in the first round. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. Wow. So you got that game, and then right behind it, another game of the day, Colorado, Florida. Comes down to a buzzer beater. KJ Simpson's late jumper pushes Colorado past Florida. That's the tag of the headline. KJ Simpson had a late jumper to put him past the head, but this game was back and forth the whole way. Florida makes a massive storm back, trying to send it to OT. I forget what the kid's name is. It might have been Walter Clayton, who dropped 33, hit an insane shot, hit an insane three. You get to the point where it's like, oh shit, we might go to overtime, and then Colorado ends up hitting a late jumper to steal it, like I said. So apparently, by the way, mid-talk, NFL approves the kickoff change, so they are going to change the kickoff. I'll talk about that more. I'll talk about it a little bit in the end here in a bit, but when it comes to like some of these rule changes, I'm going to wait probably about two, three more weeks. I'll wait officially for March Madness, and then I'll spend a whole episode like this, what the NFL rules changes are going to do, because I'll admit, some of them I still don't understand myself, so I want to make sure I fully understand them before I explain them. K-State Tominaga, Nebraska, man, they lose 98-83. It wasn't that close of a game. Man, sucks, man. Heartbroken for my boy K-State Tominaga. Just wanted to see him be great. Vermont, blown out by Duke. I thought they'd be able to cover. I'm not going to lie. They did not cover. 64-47. I don't even have anything to say about that game. It was just a blowout. Charleston, Alabama is 96-109. I think the biggest scary thing about this game is just the score. Allowing Charleston to score 96. That's probably the biggest scare of the game for Alabama. I think they were pretty safe regardless. I don't remember this game too much, but I think they were safe regardless. Houston wins by 40 against Longwood. Not shocking. James Madison, man. Upsets Wisconsin. This is crazy. James Madison looked amazing in night one. Like, absolutely looked amazing against Wisconsin. Everything seemed to be clicking. Everything they did just seemed to be going right. And then they played Duke the next game, and not quite the same. Utah State, TCU, Utah State wins by 16. Great win for them. Grand Canyon upset St. Mary's. Great way to end the night. Grand Canyon upset St. Mary's, beats them by almost 10. And that's in a sense, that was Friday night. All of a sudden, Friday night, now everyone gets a chance to sleep, catch up, like, whoa, what just happened in the round of 64? Now we're moving to grade. Alright, so it might take me a minute to bounce between some of these. They have NIT scores in here. I really thought they wouldn't, but I thought I filtered it to where there wouldn't be NIT scores, but I guess there is, so we'll have to talk in between them. First game of the day, Dayton loses by 10 to Arizona. They kept it rather close. I even thought there's a chance they might steal the, out of 9.5. I thought there's a chance they might steal that 9.5 from me. Nah, they ended up losing by 10 there. Good win by Arizona, honestly. Truly good win there. Gonzaga just blows the... Ooh. 89-68. I don't need cuss words. I don't need any words. 89-68. I'll let the score do the talking. Gonzaga, 43, by the way, 44-43 at half. 46-24 second half. Kansas just absolutely fell apart. The depth became an issue. Gonzaga, their depth became an issue in a great way. They just showed that. I mean, Gonzaga just balled out, man. I mean, if you look at the stat sheet for Gonzaga, pretty much everyone who got a minute except for some of the guys at the end scored. We got 3, 11, 5, 17, 15, 21, 15. And there were a lot of guys in double digits. Kansas just couldn't stop a nosebleed towards the end of the game. It just got to the point where Gonzaga ran him out the gym. I mean, this is what we expected from Kansas, honestly. I don't think a lot of people were too shocked this happened. Kansas just didn't have the players this year, honestly. I mean, they had some good players, but they didn't have enough players this year. And this was one of the worst Kansas seasons by far in the Bill Self era. I think this is one of his worst seasons. This is the first time they've had 12 losses since I think they said 89 or something like that. And it's absolutely insane what happened to this Kansas team. They just didn't have a good year, pretty much. I said, by the way, Kansas didn't have a good year. Still went 23-11. 23-12 if you count that loss, I believe. But still, that's for Kansas. 23-11 it's been a bit weird. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they recover from this. Gonzaga moving on to the Sweet 16. By the way, Arizona moving on to the Sweet 16. North Carolina, Michigan State. North Carolina, another game, pretty close to half. And by pretty close to half, I mean UNC was up 9. This game was close at one point. And then I just remember, I actually think I was playing, I think it was gaming with my buddy a little bit while this game was on. What was it? I think we were playing like some old MW3 Survival, for those of you who know what that is. Shout out. So yeah, we were both talking about this game a little bit while I had it on. They were down a little bit, so I put a little bit on UNC money line, put a little bit more on UNC money line, and then me and my boy playing a little bit, looking back and forth, looking back, and all of a sudden, yeah, it's 69-85. Almost up by 20. UNC just dominated. They've just flipped the switch, going on a 17-0 run. I think it ended up being like a 26-6 extended run, something like that. Those numbers aren't exact for the extended run, but UNC went on a really, really, really good run to put themselves pretty much out of reach. And after that happened, Michigan State just couldn't really catch up. Yeah, man, it's just. By the way, this is hilarious. I'm looking at, by the way, the sports site. So I have this game up, UNC Michigan State, right? Right under it is the article they have written for this. Alabama gets a big game from Mark Sears. Like, I don't think this is an Alabama game. No, but shout out Martin Baycott again, dropping 18-7. UNC moving on to the Sweet 16 after a dominant performance. So now we move on. Iowa State, Washington State. This was an 11-point game. I think this State tied going into half, but I think after going into half, it was relatively all Iowa State. They ended up pulling away slightly towards the end. I mean, they were either up or down like 1 or 2. So Iowa State was in the game pretty much the whole game, and then ended up pulling away late, ended up winning by 11. So Iowa State moving on to Sweet 16. There's not much to talk about in the game. 67-56, really good defensive performance, really good just performance overall by the team. One of the games of the night, man. NC State Oakland goes to overtime. NC State. If they don't have a bullshit 3 happen, covers the would have covered in overtime. Went from going into overtime to almost covering overtime. My boy DJ Burns, 24-11-4, man. He a dog. Shout out Jack Golke though, and all those Oakland boys. Townsend dropped 30-13. Golke had 22 on 6-17 shooting. Excuse me. And it's just a good game by Oakland. It just felt like they couldn't do anything to really stop. This was another game where they couldn't really do anything to stop the paint. The big guys last game for NC State combined for 50 points in the paint. This game you got 11 from Diarra, 24 from Burns, it's 35. And then I don't think Ben Middlebrooks only put in 2 this game, so you got 37. So that's 87 points back in total from the big man down low. NC State has a little formula working. So shout out to NC State, man. They're one of the lowest seeds to move on to the Sweet 16. A really, really fun game. This was an absolutely fun game to watch. Oakland kept it close for most of the game, and then right at the end, NC State was able to pull it out. Tennessee, Texas, this was another really pretty good game. Tennessee gets back in the Sweet 16, man. They were up 28-19 going into half. And then out of half, Texas ends up answering back a little bit, but most part, I mean, Tennessee just pulls away. Dalton Connect had a pretty bad shooting night. And they were still able to win. That's the biggest story of the game is Dalton Connect had an off shooting night. They were able to win. They played, because Tennessee's going to win a game in the mud if they have to. And that's what the game in the mud, and they were able to handle it. It's just, yeah, now that they have Dalton Connect, they don't always have to win in the mud now. Now they can get some offensive explosion from a guy. So it's really, really good for them. Because, yeah, winning every game in the mud is pretty tough. Moving on now, Illinois, Duke and Ease, just kidding, Duquesne Dukes. Terrence Shannon, shout out, man. Oh my God, dude! If Terrence Shannon hits one more 3, I had a 3-point I had a 3-point parlay going, cooking up. Last game of the day, needed Terrence Shannon to hit 3, hits 2, heartbreaking stuff. But shout out Illinois, man, 89-63, handling business, not even making it a game, up big the whole game. Creighton, Oregon. Final game of the night. Goes into double OT. Creighton ends up winning 86-13. 15-2 in the second overtime. You could tell that Oregon just ran out of juice. Nafali, Dante, and Kusnard were the only two guys who pretty much scored. They were the only ones who scored in the second half. So for 20 minutes of the whole second half, they're the only ones who scored. And then if you move on to overtime, they're the only ones who scored in overtime until like the 2-minute mark. And then some other random dude happened to make a layup. And then obviously in the second overtime, those two just completely ran out of steam. But shout out to Oregon Creighton, man. They put on a thriller Saturday night. Your boy was trying to go to bed early because he had a tea time and needed to get some stuff done in the morning. But I had to stay up till 1 a.m. watching this game. Like, man, this is awesome. This is a truly fun basketball game. It's like they say, we'll sleep in May, man. Double OT game then Saturday night. Can't ask for much better. I was all over Creighton in this game as well. Made a lot of money off of them. That was, woo! Shout out Creighton, man. Paid for my golf yesterday. I guess Sunday. Excuse me. They paid for my golf Sunday. As well as some dinner, man. So shout out. And then that moves us to Sunday's games. Colorado Marquette, first game of the day. I'll admit, didn't really get too many eyes on the first half of this game because I was on the golf course. I was checking scores. I saw Marquette was up like 7-8 most of it. So I'm like, all right, I don't need to watch. Colorado ended up storming back a little bit. So I'm like, oh, shit, let me turn this on. Tyler Kolek, 21-11, man. Double-double, looking sexy with it. I watched the last 5 minutes of this game, so up till that, I'll admit, I didn't have too many eyes on this game. But it seemed like it was a really exciting game. Sad I missed the storm back from Colorado. I don't think I have anything else to add. Shout out Tyler, again. Shout out Tyler Kolek, man. Had Tyler Kolek get 10 points, 8 assists, or 10 assists. I think it was 8 assists, and then for Marquette to win. Big parlay-easy. I was trying to say that, but holy hell. We ain't going to try to say that again. I about had a stroke trying to say that shit. Let's see. Jackson DeSilva would hit his 3 if I took that. Sorry, that was a little bit inside for me. Shout out Joplin. Hitting his 3s, by the way. That boy been nice for me. But yeah, man, shout out Kim Jones dropping 18. Tyler Kolek at 21, like I said. Joplin at 14. Oso Ighodaro, 10-1. Next game, Purdue, man. Purdue, Utah State. Zach Edey, man. Had him 25-10, Purdue to win. Probably had 100 on this 3-legger. Close to 100 on this 3-legger to win. Shit ton of money as well. Didn't hit because Purdue beat the shit out of them. Zach Edey dropping 23-14. Purdue just absolutely dominated. I missed the first half of this game. Didn't need to watch the second half because, outscored him 57-34 in the second half after already outscoring him 49-33 in the first half. I mean, you just look at the stat sheet. Trey Kaufman went off, had 18 points. We already talked about Edey. Lance Jones had 9. Braden Smith didn't do too much. Fletcher Lawyer had 15. Shout out Fletcher Lawyer. Gillis had 2 threes, which is what we need. Shout out. Had him bet. You know how it be. But yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, I had a phone. Grandma called. Hate to say it, but since I'm not live, kind of got to stop the show to talk to Grams. But yeah, man, shout out Purdue, like I said. I think I was at the point where, pretty sure I was talking about Mason Gillis, right? I'm pretty sure I was talking about what Mason Gillis did, how he finally hit some threes. Because yeah, I won't lie. Shout out my boys who rode Mason Gillis 2 threes with me again. I'll tell these people like, I'll tell y'all people. I'll tell yins. I'll tell you. By the way, so if you take away, we're gonna take away this February 18th Ohio State. We're gonna take away this 0 for 1. If you take away the 0 for 1, he's 3 for 6, 4 for 8. 3 for 5, 2 for 5, 2 for 4, 2 for 3, 2 for 4, 2 for 5, 2 for 5. So if you take away the Ohio State game, he was 9 in a row. If you take away, it was 9 of 10 before he missed those 2 threes. So I felt so bad because I was banging them. Boys were asking me for plays. I'm like, hey, let's take this. And sure enough, he doesn't hit it. So I'm glad he got back to it against Utah State at 2 more. So I'm glad I can keep betting it. Shout out Cam Heide for hitting his 3 as well. Cash money, baby. Baylor, man, getting upset by Clemson. This one was absolutely shocking. Baylor played probably some of the worst basketball I've ever seen when it comes to shooting. Baylor shot 21 from 54, 6 from 24 from 3, 16 from 26 from the free throw line. That was the biggest thing, man. These boys couldn't make a free throw. They couldn't make a shot, and then they'd finally get to the line, and they missed the first free throw, but 1-1, and they would basically just kill the possession. And, I mean, that's pretty much what won Clemson the game. Baylor couldn't shoot for shit. When they finally got a break and could go to the free throw line, they shot 62% from the line. So shout out Clemson, man. Like I said, this was a team that I didn't think could get it done, and now they're in the Sweet 16. So I owe them some respect, and I owe them an apology. I'm sorry. I didn't recognize your game. Moving on now, like I said, though, Alabama Grand Canyon. This was a really good back and forth game. It got close for 1 second. Tylen Grant Bossard's a guy, man. Sucks that he had all the heart issues and he had to go to Grand Canyon. Like, nothing gets him going to Grand Canyon, obviously, but man, there are some teams that would have loved to have this Tylen Grant Foster kid because he could ball out, man. 29 points, 8 rebounds for him. He and Grand Canyon were able to keep it close for a little bit. Then Alabama was just able to pull away late. 72-61 final there. I'm not going to lie to you. I am going to skip the Texas A&M Houston game because I thought that was game of the day. I want to talk about that game specifically last because I'm going to burn through these last, two games. James Madison absolutely blown out by Duke. Like, Duke beat him 93-55. This is what I meant. Like, one game, James Madison looked absolutely on top. Next game, Duke just flattened them. I won't lie, I was shocked. Like, I didn't think Duke had that in them. Because I'll admit, I thought Duke was going to get upset this round, too. Duke, Auburn, Kentucky were the three I thought were going to get upset in the second round for sure. 2 for 3, I'll take it. But, man. Well, I guess I was 0 for 3 because 2 of them lost in the first round. But shout out Duke, though. They actually looked really, really impressive that game. San Diego State absolutely blew out Yale 85-57. We'll talk about that game in a second. UConn 75-58. Shout out Boo Buie, man. What a career, man. Shout out my boy Boo Buie. He's gonna suck not being LC. I lose Boo Buie and Keisei Tominaga this year. That's hard, man. Feel like I'm losing my kids, man. Hate to see it. But shout out Yale, man. There's a parlay. We'll talk about that. You know what? I'll bring this up. I usually am not, like I said, I don't want to spend all these March Madness bragging about the bets I made and didn't hit and all that, but this one I feel like I got to share. I had a bunch of the boys riding on it in the group chat we talked about yesterday. And it was heartbreaking stuff. So, first off, it's Jaden Ledee to score 20 points in the San Diego State game, which he did. It's going to lead into this game. So, I had the Houston-Texas A&M game, and then I had the Yale San Diego State game. Jaden Ledee scores 26. It's easy, whatever we do. Wade Taylor shot the shit out of the ball in a horrible way. Like, he was like 5 for 25. We needed him to score 20 points. Took OT in that game to get him there. Somehow he scores 20 points magically. He hits that. Unbelievable. He hits the 3-point parlay I had him in, too. Unbelievable. Like, legit, I shouldn't have won any money on this, and somehow he hit. LJ Cryer hit it over his 10 points. Tyrese Radford hit over his 15 points. It all comes down to our boy Danny Wolf and Yale. 3 minutes ago, Danny Wolf gets the ball stolen from him. 2 minutes ago, hits the under rim with a layup, misses the tip back shot. The other team gets the rebound. There's a foul, and they sub out Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf finished with 9 points. I watched him miss a free throw too. I watched him miss about 4 or 5. I missed his 2 putbacks, missed like 3 layups. Heartbreaking stuff, man. You know what they say though? Parlays are for losers, so I'm not gonna hang my head on it too much. It happens, but man, 1 point away, and there was like 3 or 4 layup attempts and a missed free throw that caused it not to hit. But I guess it's the yin to the yang because it took overtime. Like I said, we're going to talk about this game now because this is the last game to talk about before we get to the Sweet 16. Houston, Texas A&M. Houston has 4 players foul out. Texas A&M has a miracle shot to send it to OT. I'm talking miracle shot. I can't believe the kid hit the shot. Shout out to, what's his name? Was it, I don't think it was was it Levique? Is either Levique or Garcia. Oh, it was Anderson Garcia, man. Literally catches the ball, basically throws it up with like 1.2 on the clock, splash down, sends it to OT. Like I said, a lot of my bets ended up hitting for sure because it ended up going to OT. Had the boost for Alabama and Houston both to win. Shout out Houston, man, Texas A&M, giving us a thriller, one of the best games of the night because the other 2 or 3 games around it were all blowouts. So being able to watch this game along with the blowouts, this was a truly amazing watch. That officially does it, man. That gives us the Sweet 16 now. So now if we want to go to the bracket, look at the Sweet 16. Thursday, man, we got Connecticut versus San Diego State. And by Connecticut, I mean the UConn Husky boys, man. Illinois, Iowa State, that's going to be an amazing game. UNC, Alabama, Clemson, Arizona. Those are all the Thursday games. And then you got Friday, you got Houston, Duke, NC State, Marquette, Purdue, Gonzaga, Creighton, Tennessee. Hey now. I'm juiced, man. Sweet 16. It was really, really fun. Really, really, really fun tournament. I ended up cashing. I bet about $20 every bet. Parlays I had 10 on. Cashed out close to, I think, $300 overall in the weekend. So not a bad weekend at all. Could have been nuclear with some of the stuff I just missed. So I'm very excited with how the weekend went. Very, very fun weekend of college basketball, man. Very, very exciting weekend. So without any further ado, we're going to talk very quickly about NFL news. Like I said, I just talked about how they're going to change the kickoff rule. We'll explain that later. They also added in for the NFL the hip drop tackle. You can't do that anymore. We'll talk about that later on too. It's going to take me too long to get into those, so I'm just going to burn through some big news today. And then Thursday, since there's only a few games to talk about, I'll talk more of NFL news. It'll basically be split in half. First half March Madness and bracket. Second half NFL news. And that's basically what we'll do. Like I said, so the NFL bans the hip drop tackle, which is now pretty much what this means, they're giving the refs another subjective call to make. Hopefully, but them doing this, they also said they're going to allow replay now, like the overhead, the sky cam. Pretty much now there's a sky cam that can review plays and take away calls now. Like if there's a roughing the passer where they say they punched him in the head, but it clearly doesn't hit him in the head, hits him in the shoulder pad. Sky camera guy is going to be like, hey, that's not a roughing the passer, pick up the flag. So we got that now, but the hip drop tackle is a thing. So we're going to see. Shout out Tom Pelissero. Tom Pelissero made it sound like they're going to fine people a lot and call it a lot more in August. And hopefully by the time the season starts, they don't call it. But we'll have to see. Who knows how actually true that is. Jets are open to keeping Zach Wilson if he's not traded. We'll see if they actually end up keeping him early. I don't even know. With how much that kid's been through, I feel like he just needs to change of scenery. Bears and Texans are going to have the preseason Hall of Fame game. Shout out. That should be a rather interesting one, even though they aren't going to play anybody. Falcons didn't break NFL tampering rules, signing Cousins. That's what the owner said. I would assume the owner would say that. Let's see. Dolphins are making an offer for Odell Beckham, so they're interesting. For a team that I love Odell Beckham but for a team who dealt with a lot of injuries last year, signing another injured receiver is probably not the best, but him and Tyreek are going to be nasty if he can stay healthy, so I don't mind it at all. Payton's realistic that the Broncos could trade up for a quarterback. I wouldn't be shocked if they will. There's a lot of rumors that J.J. McCarthy's going to end up there. Colt Steichen, Richardson going to participate in OTAs. I hope Richardson comes back, man. I hope this year off was good for him. He came into the NFL pretty much hurt and banged up, and then he pretty much got an early call. He's been out since week 4, so hopefully it gave him a shit ton of time to heal. Because I know personally for me, coming back from that shoulder surgery that I've just had some of the worst pain in my life because of COVID, funny enough, too. Our football season, my junior year, was from between February and April. Like week 1 was first week of February, ended about middle of April. And then my senior season was in August. So I pretty much had 2 seasons in one. So I can understand the feeling, man, because that's tough. So even with my labor, after recovering from surgery, it took me probably from that April until July to fully feel healthy again. It's okay, now we can go. So, I mean, it's needing that time. And then I needed that. After my surgery, I needed that. I got medically cleared in March. I pretty much needed from March until, I know I don't have NFL facilities and all that, but I almost needed to, damn near November, December to fully feel okay, I got all my strength back. I feel like this arm is damn near brand new. I'm hoping with all this time off, pretty much what I'm trying to say, with all this time off, I hope it allows him to actually be able to heal. And I hope the mental game for Anthony Richardson got better because the division's going to be a little tough this year. That CJ Stroud guy's kind of good. O'Connell has a chance to compete for the starting job for the Raiders. We'll see, though, because they might draft a quarterback, and they already paid Gardner Minshew, so that quarterback room could get crowded in a hurry. We'll have to see when it comes to April. The Pats are weighing options, but they're probably going to draft a QB 3. That's their priority, says Gerard Mayo. Blah, blah, blah. We don't care about what Robert Saleh says. He's excited to attack 2024. I don't think I need me to read about that. Jordan Love says it's perfect time for Packers to make a Super Bowl run. Why? Because Mahomes runs the league? There's probably a real reason behind that. I'm not going to read into it today because we've already gone way too long. Quinn, far to envision team drafting QB, so they're what they're saying. They're probably taking QB. Geno's going to be the starter for the Seahawks. That was just announced by McDonald, who's the Raiders DC. That's not the Seahawks head coach. Dayball Jones will be Giants starter when he returns. That doesn't mean he'll be the starter for the whole season. It just means he'll be a starter for when he returns. We'll have to keep up with the Daniel Jones. Jets are eager to sign Clowney. They need another pass rusher after losing Huff. We talked about Snead going to the Titans. Such bullshit. Flacco on the Colts. Shout out my boy Joe Flacco. Bears, DJ Moore. I might race Allen to 1,000 receivers. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are going to be pretty nasty for the Bears. I won't lie. That should be. I hate to say this. I'm actually intrigued to see and semi-excited what the Bears will do next year. I know it's dumb to say, but by the way, we talked about Cam Sutton last week. He was cut by the Lions after a domestic issue, and now he's still wanted for domestic battery. So, that's going to be a tough situation. We'll have to see what happens with him. I think that's pretty much it. Apparently, the Chargers GM offered Keenan Allen multiple contract options before the trade. There were extensions. There was everything. We kind of went down every path, and then there was one of that fit us best and fit him best. So pretty much, I feel like either Keenan Allen either they lowballed Keenan Allen on every single contract they gave him and he hated all of them, or they didn't give him a fair offer and said, hey, you're probably going to get more money if we trade you and everything, which wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. And that's going to do it for today, guys. Not a lot of NFL news, like I said. I wanted to talk. Hell, man, I think I almost went the Sweet 16. Man, I didn't even have a T there the whole time. I don't even care, honestly. I think that makes it... I'm going to fix it now, but I honestly think that made it a lot cooler. The Sweet 16. The Sweet 16? But yeah, no. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for all the support. I really do appreciate it. I wish I could spell words. I was so excited to get on today. I didn't finish the T for sweet. But yeah, man. We talked about Sweet 16 teams. We talked about March Madness. A lot have happened over this weekend, man. A lot of games happened. Shout out to the women's. I didn't bring up the women's, but Iowa and LSU made it to the Sweet 16 for all that care, I believe. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have too much to talk about the women's, though, because I didn't actually watch it. I just kept tabs on scores here and there, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. When it comes to Thursday, like I said, we're pretty much going to talk about Sweet 16 Elite 8 bets and picks, and pretty much Sweet 16 Elite 8 bets and picks. Maybe make a bracket for the Sweet 16 on, and then we'll talk more NFL news. I'll talk a little bit more about these rules that they came out with since, NFL's changing. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for support. Really do appreciate it. Been a fun week, man. Man, I just can't get over that. Madness is already, we're in the middle of the madness, and before we know it's already going to be over. We're pretty much 2 weeks away from the National Championship. For those of you who are WWE fans, WrestleMania's in 2 weeks. We're in that season already. Crazy to think about. Wild. What is time? Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for support. I will see everybody back in this feed on Thursday for some more hoops talk and some more NFL talk.